ovation from the crowd as the New York Knicks have been introduced. A look at the Detroit Pistons starting lineup: Isiah Thomas and Joe Dumars in the backcourt, both with strong games Friday night. Dennis Rodman, who's been bouncing back the last couple of games up front, along with Orlando Woolridge. And it will be Bill Laimbeer starting at center. So John Salley, who has been effective in this series, will come off the bench once again. And there's the Detroit Piston huddle. Chuck Daly, the coach of the Pistons, in what could be his finale as head coach of Detroit. The New York Knicks with Mark Jackson in the starting lineup despite the bruised thigh, along with Gerald Wilkins, who had only a 1 for 6 on Friday in Game 4. These two have been very effective throughout the series. Charles Oakley and Xavier McDaniel up front, along with Patrick Ewing. And Pat Riley, the coach of the New York Knicks. Jake O'Donnell, Jess Kersey, and Hugh Hollins are the officials. And that is a very strong officiating crew.
No question about it. They were going to bring in the very best that they could to try and handle this basketball game, establish control right in the beginning. And talking to all three officials just a few moments ago, they're all looking forward to a really great basketball. They were as pumped up as the players off the distance.
Game 4 Friday night. The Pistons able to beat the Knicks at the Palace 86-82 to tie the series at 2. Isiah Thomas controlling the tip, and the foul is called. And Isiah took a spill into the photographer's area. Mark Jackson getting back, so Mark tested in the backpedal move right at the start.
Isiah Thomas, who many consider to be one of the best ever big game basketball players, really has not had a chance to explode in this series thus far. And the fact that he gets the opening tip, takes it strong to the basket, the number of free throws that he shot was a big concern with the staff. He was not getting to the foul line. This could be a big plus for their team.
Isiah Thomas saying that he has never been trapped and covered by as many men as during this series.
I think New York realizes that if you take the guards out of the game for Detroit, they have problems finding other scorers.
Here's Ewing. Rebound Oakley. Blew the putback. Thomas gets it down to Woolridge, and Detroit is off to a 4-0 lead.
They're certainly not looking to walk it up this afternoon. They're going right at New York.
McDaniel, yes. Xavier McDaniel has had a terrific series. Did not shoot well in Game 4 on Friday night, 5 for 15, but a strong all-around game, and he did finish with 18 points. McDaniel again on a pull-up and able to follow it through. A minute in. Pistons lead 4-2, and the foul is called, or is it a travel? Traveling violation. Good play by Laimbeer to come over, and he created that turnover.
The great recognition by Laimbeer, realizing that Isiah Thomas was getting back under the rim. Laimbeer makes the rotation. McDaniel makes the turn, but travels first.
Detroit with that 28-4 spurt in the game on Friday night. At one stretch, the Knicks led by as many as 10. Detroit has a 16-point lead, but the Knicks able to get back into it. Ewing jumping out to help. Here's Laimbeer. Bill Laimbeer had a very quiet game on Friday at the Palace, but he hits on his first field goal attempt.
And Jess Kersey has just called a delay of game warning against Detroit. Detroit on offense just ran what I'll call a token pick and roll. Isiah Thomas didn't come off the screen to really try and score, get in the lane. He came off it to see how New York was going to play it in the beginning of the game, then eventually created something for Laimbeer off the dribble.
Wilkins, yes, and it counts. And you know that has to feel very good for Gerald Wilkins, who has been having a difficult time.
But it's Patrick Ewing that's going to the line, and it's the push right there by Bill Laimbeer that was detected by the official.
So the basket by Wilkins does count, and away from the ball, that push on Laimbeer to put Ewing on the line.
Detroit has so many players that they cannot afford to have pick up early fouls, because when they're on the bench, this team just does not function the same way.
It is Detroit 6, New York 5. Light pressure by Jackson. Isiah tries to blow by, got the step. Ewing with the rebound. McDaniel. Good look by Jackson.
What happened that time, Joe Dumars in transition ran back under the rim, and it looked like he was going to take Isiah McDaniel in the transition matchup. Then Dumars ran out to get his man. No one seeing McDaniel. He snuck under the rim.
And a defense from the crowd. Lambier to a hook. Last touch by Ewing, so the Pistons maintain possession. Looked like Ewing took a poke under the left eye. Rodman will throw in. Well, Lambier did not like the aggressive defense of McDaniel. Rodman for Lambier. Rodman able to keep it alive, and he's pushed by McDaniel. And we have the first words of the afternoon between these two ball clubs. That's the way the series has gone. Dennis Rodman did not like the shove from Isiah McDaniel.
As Dennis Rodman is chasing the ball down, McDaniel comes in late, realizes he has no chance, just gives a little hip and body and sends Dennis into the front row, the VIP seats. These two guys have been hustling down loose balls the entire series for their team.
Nice lead from Lambier. Oh, a hard foul given by Oakley. Goes right at Rodman.
We'll see right away if the officials are going to award them the basketball, meaning Detroit back again on the side after he shoots these two free throws. In my opinion, it would be a good move right now to clean things up and establish how this game's going to be called.
It is a flagrant foul. That is called.
Oakley on the rotation. If you're not playing the basketball and you're going after a body where there could be an injury, the officials have a decision to make. Do you call it the A or the B interpretation of the flagrant foul? If it's the A interpretation, you shoot your free throws and then get the ball back. If it's the B interpretation, they could throw a player out of a basketball game.
Mike, I got the idea in watching the game on Friday night that the Knicks intensity was not what it was in Game 3, and what we're seeing right here as Rodman misses on the free throw. So it is 2 shots and possession for Detroit. The Knicks with the score, with the lead of 7-6. And that holds up. But the Knicks, by coming out physically, getting back to that point, and it's difficult to make that assessment from the naked eye. You don't know what is going on in the minds of the players, but the physical play seems to get the Knicks into it. That was certainly true with Detroit over the years.
It's one of the things that every coach in the league noticed right away at the beginning of the season about New York. They were so much more physical coming out to play this year.
Knicks off 5 consecutive points, lead by 1. Right now, Detroit is going with single coverage on Ewing. And Wilkins' pass lands on the Detroit bench. He thought McDaniel was cutting toward the corner.
Yeah, he was looking for the float by Isiah McDaniel to the deep corner in front of the Detroit bench. Instead, X-Man moved the opposite way. The pass winds up in the stands.
Pistons have hit only 2 of their first 8 from the field. They have missed their last 6. Woolridge with a crossover called for the travel.
You get away with no hop, skip, and a jump here in this particular game. The officials will look at every minute thing and make sure that it's carried out the entire game. Consistency is what you want from the officials. That's why they have 3 of the best here this afternoon.
The Knicks 7 and the Pistons 6. Ewing with the step. Oh, he beat Lambier down on the block.
The lead pass was right where Patrick Ewing wanted it. The angle was perfect so that there was no chance for any other Piston to get there and help out.
Knicks 9, the Pistons 6. 7-0 run by New York. Joe Dumars had a terrific game Friday night, 9 for 15, 23 points, and he's able to connect to end the Knicks run. The Knicks now lead it by 1. Here's Oakley, and it will be Detroit ball.
Sometimes the angle's just right with a defensive man. Beard gets too high on the top side. It makes it easy for Ewing to catch and convert.
Pushing and shoving down low. Now McDaniel switches out to Dumars. Beard. Pistons with a 1-point lead. Bill Beard getting inside.
Detroit has added a few wrinkles to their offensive set for New York. That last one, a triple stack for Joe Dumars.
Here comes Thomas. Rodman, nice touch pass for Woolridge. And the Pistons lead it now by the score of 12-9.
Sometimes you forget the skills that Dennis Rodman really has, and you don't appreciate it as much, but he is a terrific passer.
So Detroit roaring back with 6 unanswered.
Ahmad Rashad here at Madison Square Garden, along with one of the assistant coaches of the Chicago Bulls, Jim Clemens. Now, Jim, you're here scouting. I would think, having played against these two teams all year, there'd be nothing new you could find out.
Well, you're bound to pick up something. Crucial situation, tendency, personnel, something that I'll be familiar with or help familiarize our team with.
You just don't want to be surprised when you see one of these teams.
Well, that's the name of the game.
All right, now, I saw Chuck Daly a minute ago motioning over here on one of those hard fouls. What was he talking about?
I don't know. I'm going to have to ask Chuck myself what all that was about at the end of the game.
All right. All right, Marv.
All right. Ahmad, Jim Clemens, a one-time New York Knick. In fact, he was acquired from the Cleveland Cavaliers in the deal that sent Walt Frazier to Cleveland. Mason, through the foul as the second quarter gets underway. Pistons lead by 4. There's Clyde. He's handling the color commentary on the Madison Square Garden radio network, along with Jim Carvelis.
Clyde, one of my idols when I was growing up.
Me too.
No way. No chance.
Anthony Mason to the free throw line. So the Pistons lead it by the score of 23-20. And Greg Anthony, the rookie from Nevada, Las Vegas, who played so well against the Pistons Friday night, coming on for Mark Jackson. So Mark, despite the bruised thigh, has hit 2 out of 3 4 points and has 3 assists. Greg Anthony did a nice job offensively and defensively on Friday, and he's had an up and down rookie season.
I think he's played very well for a rookie in his first season. Pat Riley has given him a lot of time, showed a lot of confidence in him, and it's just the beginning of what he hopes will be a very long career in the NBA.
Pistons by 2. Here's Ewing. And Patrick Ewing now 2 of 8 from the field. Dumars. Walker gets to it. Darryl Walker, an exceptional rebounder. And Thomas is pushed by Anthony. It is a non-shooting foul. Detroit will throw in. They have Walker, Thomas, and Dumars going with the 3-guard alignment that has been successful from time to time during this series. Thomas, played well by Anthony. Sally, last touch by Sally.
You know, Mark, some people feel that Anthony has not had a real good season, but let me just say this. The young man has played in all 82 games for a team that won 51 basketball games. So he's done a pretty good job. A lot of rookies don't get in the game their first year.
Well, the problem has been shot selection. When you want a point guard mentality, Anthony has been looking shot first. Darryl Walker called for the foul. His defense has been no question. But I think some of his teammates feel entry passes could be a little better, that he should be looking for setup more than shot.
That's why he's called a rookie. And that's why veteran guys tend to perform better in big basketball games over the long run because of experience.
And a look at Greg Anthony's fourth game where he played 26 minutes. 2 of those 4 field goals from downtown. At one stretch, Greg Anthony 1 for 24 this season from downtown. Pistons 23 and the Knicks 22. Walker being played by Starks. And the foul against the Pistons. It is Sally who tried to set the pick. Called for the personal.
And with Detroit inverting their guards, Thomas now goes into the role of the shooting or scoring guard with Walker running the show. So those baseline screens are being set for Isiah to try and free him up.
Charles Oakley is back despite the injured hip. Patrick Ewing sitting down. Ewing only 2 of 8 from the field. Anthony checking the shot clock and does it off the dribble. Yes! The Knicks lead by 1, 24-23.
If you're watching the basketball game and you're wondering, maybe you like turned away for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes and then say, what, have there been any scores? No, you're right. This is defense right now dominating the basketball game. There are no easy shots.
The officials checking it out. Excellent defensive play by the Knicks to break up that drive, and it will be Nick Ball. It was last touch by Detroit. The crowd responding to the play of the New York Knicks.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Acura Automobiles. Experience precision-crafted performance. By Coors Light. The silver bullet is the right beer now. And by Alamo. There are over 4 million miles of roads in Alamo territory. And with Alamo, all those miles are free.
Well, Mike, apparently you did not walk your dog today. Just let him loose in front of the garden. Charles Oakley getting the hip run down during the timeout, and Charles is back on the floor.
The dog was fashionably dressed in Albert attire.
Thank you very much. So dangerous, though, to see a dog smoking. Knicks 24. And the Pistons 23. 2.5 gone by. Second quarter. Marv Albert with the czar of the telestrator, Mike Fratello and Ahmad Rashad. Offensive foul on Mason.
New York immediately going down, trying to exploit the defense of Mark Aguirre. And Aguirre understands when he's on the floor, teams are going to go at him. It's easier for him to defend down low with his physical contact and play as opposed to when he has to get out away from the basket and move his feet.
Darrell Walker shooting. And for Darrell, his first field goal. Pistons lead by 1. Both clubs 8 for 21 from the field in the first quarter. It is a matchup of the 2 top defensive teams in the league. Anthony. And Woolridge with the rebound. Sally from Thomas. It is a charge on Sally. That is the second foul.
That is a tough, close call. Whether or not he had a chance to catch and defense sliding underneath. The other angle perhaps gives us a better look. Starks releases, anticipates the pass. No question he's there, but Sally never got a chance to look and see.
Looks like Oakley is laboring. He's on the floor now with Patrick Ewing getting a rest. Oakley hurt his hip in the first quarter. Starks off the dribble, got the step, but was rejected by Sally. Shot clock running down. Oakley had a fire.
Talk about boxing out. That's just how you diagram it, how it is in the books. The ball bounces on the floor. That's what you like to see if you're the defensive coach.
Dumars being played now by Anthony. Starks on Walker. Aguirre. Stopped by Mason, who got a piece of it. Nice save. And here comes Anthony for Oakley. Good luck by Anthony. Starks misses. Rejected by Sally.
The Piston defense is all over the place. First, they stop dribble penetration. Then they block shots. Then they rotate to the next open man. McGuire looks like he was in slow motion, but he draws 5 white jerseys as he attempts to score the basketball. Down at the other end of the floor, there's going to be a challenge and block by the 6'11" shot blocker, John Sally, and keeping it a play causes his team to scramble and help out, which is what it's all about.
Oakley and Vandaway sit down. McDaniel and Ewing are back. The steal by Ewing. And Ewing able to recover. Starks fouled by Walker.
Just a second ago, Patrick Ewing looks like he's going to wind up with a sure score, but then the roll of the ball on the rim, it just doesn't quite grab the way he expects. Kicks back out, and then it's just a mad scramble. Everybody's sticking their nose in there trying to go after it. They're giving it all out here right now.
Knicks have missed their last 6 shot attempts. Ewing. The Knicks 26 and the Pistons 25. 5 minutes gone by. Second quarter. Starks knocked it away. It's a 3-on-2. McDaniel. Mason and Lane Beer rebounds. 2-on-1 the other way. Thomas. Starks for Ewing. 3-on-2 again. McDaniel. Yes. The Knicks lead by 3.
They'll be checking out those charts to see the fast break conversion factor at the end of this basketball game.
Dumars is crunched. Starks and Ewing all over. Joe Dumars. John Starks called for the foul. A second. Pat Riley calling for a timeout with 6:11 remaining in this first half. As expected, it has been fierce, physical basketball that has taken place in this first half at the Garden. I talked about the heavy-handed play with the Pistons' John Sally.
They haven't hit me yet. I've been knocked over a couple of times. A lot of it's from acting. And the refs are not calling the flop, so I stopped acting. But they really haven't hit me many times. I think Oakley likes me, you know. He thinks I'm an all right guy. But he doesn't like Bill and Dennis and Mark as much, and Isiah, so he's really laying it on. He's like the new Rick Mahorn with no fat.
The reason they haven't been able to hit Spider Sally is they can't get to that thin body he's got. It's the wide ones that they're going after.
You like that characterization of Charles Oakley, the new Rick Mahorn with no fat. Knicks have outscored the Pistons in the second quarter, 9-3. Detroit only 1 for 6 from the field. Charles Oakley having a problem with the hip, and he was struggling out there in his last time on the court. Patrick Ewing made his return. Knicks lead it 28-27. 6 minutes to go in this first half, and it will be Detroit ball.
Talk about the opportunity to score points. New York, up to this last trip down, had 14 shot attempts at the basket in this quarter. Detroit only 5 attempts because of 6 turnovers.
Woolridge played by McDaniel. McGuire matched by Mason. Shot clock at 5. McGuire out for Lane Beer, who is open. Handled by Dumars. They get the new 24. Illegal defense called on the Knicks.
And Detroit right now is playing the chess match, just trying to pick New York's defense apart. apart. They have Dumars, Isiah Thomas, Lambier, and Woolridge on the perimeter. Aguirre's the post-up guy, and it's his job to read and make a decision. Go to the basket, try and score, or draw a double team, and then kick out to the appropriate man.
Dennis Rodman replacing Orlando Woolridge, who leaves with 6 points. 5:15 left, first half. Fifth and final game between the Knicks and the Pistons. Offensive foul on Aguirre, who actually is agreeing with the call. He gave that indication to Hugh Holland.
Mark, Detroit came out, and the first play they ran this afternoon was a high pick and roll, but not for real, just to get a look at the defense. Since that time, the pick and roll, which is their bread and butter, it's basically disappeared from their offense. Now, there could be a number of reasons. One, they're not going to it because the Knicks have done so well, or they're trying to... Greg Anthony with the downtown jumper. They're trying to lull New York into falling asleep and perhaps pull it back out in the second half.
The Knicks with a 30-27 lead. Greg Anthony has hit 2 out of 3 from the field, picking up from his performance on Friday night. Aguirre, Lambier, a couple of air balls, rebounded by Mason. Daniel changed his mind, and Ewing operating outside, draws the foul. And that is number 3 on Bill Lambier.
And that's a foul that Bill Lambier will be talking to himself about inside, saying, I shouldn't have used that one up at that time. It was just that Ewing got him in the air a little bit, leaning forward, and then initiated the contact by kind of leaning into Bill Lambier.
Mark Jackson returns. Big hand for Greg Anthony as he sits down. Greg Anthony shot only 37% from the field during the regular season, but he has come on here in games 4 and 5. Now John Sally returns. Bill Lambier departs. Lambier 2 out of 6 from the field for 4 points.
Greg Anthony almost 55% in this 4-game series up to this point with the Pistons.
The Knicks 32 and the Pistons 27. Detroit with only 4 points in the second quarter. They've hit 1 of 9 from the field. Crowd looking for a travel.
Feeling that Isiah snuck a big step in there before he put the ball down on the floor.
The Knicks 32. The Pistons 29, just under 4 minutes to go. First half, and Ewing's pass sailing high and wide.
Mark Aguirre had good intentions to go double team, never really even got there, about halfway. Isiah, wasn't that bad the step, just a little advantage for the veteran guard.
Thomas again, able to penetrate, and then able to go blast to cut it to a 1-point Knick lead.
Isiah taking advantage of a guard that has been sitting on the bench, coming off, not warmed up yet, plus has a little bit of a problem with that thigh bruise. Certainly is.
Wilkins, yes. The Knicks lead by 3. Isiah Thomas, the high man for Detroit, he has 10. Patrick Ewing, although he has not shot well, 3 for 10, leading the Knicks with 10 points. Thomas bottled up. Sally on the recovery. Rodman gets to it. Thomas for 3. And it will be Knick ball. Isiah Thomas has come out firing in this first half. He has 10 points, but he's done it for the most part from the foul line, where he's 6 for 6. He's hit only 2 out of 8. From the floor.
How about only 3 shot attempts for Joe Dumars?
McDaniel. And again, it's Rodman. 6 rebounds for Dennis Rodman. Aguirre brings Detroit within 1.
Sharing the basketball. Very easily that time, Dumars could have pulled up, taken the open jump shot to try and get himself going. Instead, he kicks it across to a trailing Mark Aguirre.
Oh, McDaniel and Rodman belting each other around as they grapple for position. Here's Ewing. Back come the Pistons. Aguirre from downtown. Rebounded by Mason.
They understand, the Pistons, that when Aguirre gets it going, you got to keep the ball in his hands.
Offensive foul. Called on Jackson. As he made his move, he was clearing out with one hand.
Isiah trying to hustle back, but the left arm just tosses him away, and Isiah, great acting job by Zeke. How hard is that shove? Not quite that hard.
Second foul committed by Jackson, and a timeout has been called. At 56 to go in the first half, and the Knicks lead the Pistons by the score of 34-33.
In the open, we mentioned that if Detroit was to win today, it had to come with the backcourt of Thomas and Dumars scoring. Well, Isaiah's getting his shot attempts. He has 10, but obviously not shooting very well. Dumars, they need to get him more attempts at the basket.
And Thomas fires one. Handled by Rodman. Now Dumars shooting. And Jackson able to get to it. Minute and a half left in the second quarter. Shot clock at 10. Ewing fumbled the dribble. Thomas tried to tie him up. And now he is tied up. He couldn't find any help. Let's go over to Ahmad.
All right, Marv, I just talked with Charles Oakley. He does have a hip pointer. That's a bruise of the tendon that goes right to the bone, right on that hip bone. And it is stiffening up a little bit on him, and he is having trouble running. Back to you, Marv.
All right, Ahmad, and as they lined up positioning for this jump ball, the Knicks and the Pistons got involved once again. And double technicals will be handed out.
And the reason officials will cause a double technical is when two players, and this time Mason and Rodman, lining up under the basket, starts pushing and shoving, and after the officials have talked about it and warned them, when it continues like this, the best way to handle it, double technical, so both players understand if they get another one, they're gone from the game. That's one way you can control it.
That replay from our upper deck camera. Technical fouls in the series, 13 in all. So Rodman and Mason were called on the technicals.
League office picking up more cash.
A little spending money on the side. They are resetting the game clock now. Minute 18 remaining in the first half. Knicks have a 1-point lead. It is Ewing and Woolridge once again on the jump, and Jake O'Donnell blew the whistle.
Jake saying that Detroit tried to steal the tap as the ball was being tossed up. You cannot tip the basketball while it's on its way up. If you get it while it's on its way up, it's a violation. Jake O'Donnell felt that Orlando Woolridge went after it too soon and made contact before it had reached the top of the toss.
On the subject of the technical fouls and the rough play back in game 3 at the Palace on Tuesday, the opening 5 minutes of the game were highlighted by a flagrant foul, 4 technical fouls, and several shoving confrontations. Here's Ewing, and he's hacked by Rodman. First foul committed by Dennis Rodman.
And if that seems unusual that Dennis Rodman is playing Patrick Ewing down in the low post, it's not. It's something that the Pistons have used the entire season. Rodman knows that if he goes one way towards the baseline, he's on his own. If he gets him to come back to the middle with his move, there's help there double teaming Patrick Ewing.
And it's a nice changeup that Detroit can throw at Patrick Ewing.
If
Knicks
you
lead by 2 with a minute remaining.
If Ewing goes baseline, then the double team can't get there anyhow, so Rodman plays him straight up. But if he comes back towards the middle of the floor, then there's help there.
All right, Xavier McDaniel sits down. Kiki Vandeweghe is back. And here's Greg Anthony for Mark Jackson. We should mention right here that the lowest scoring playoff game of the history of the NBA, at least since the inception of the 24-second clock, combined total of 145 points back in May of '56. Fort Wayne, the Fort Wayne Pistons over the Syracuse Nats, 74-71. Thus far today, only 69 points have been scored. So we are on pace. It'll be Detroit ball with 51 seconds remaining first half.
Patrick Ewing acting like one of those batters that thinks he's taken the fourth pitch and starts to walk down to first base, and Jake O'Donnell says, no, come on back here.
Dumars puts it right through. That's his second field goal. And the Knicks lead is now 45 seconds remaining in the half. Andaway could not gather it in. He was not set for the shot.
And he was behind that three-point line just waiting to tee it up.
Anthony with a wild shot. Mason. And Wilkins with the steal. Wilkins. Ewing. The Knicks by 3.
Just a series of great defensive plays. Wilkins knew he was in trouble. The only guy back against 3 Pistons. He went for the steal, came up for it. Rodman makes the great block, and then the conversion by Ewing.
Detroit would like to hold for a final shot. Isiah checking the clock. Out of 10 seconds, first half. Thomas guarded by Anthony. Down to 5. Down to 3. Down to 1. Forced it. Oh, what a job by Greg Anthony.
And the first guy off the bench to congratulate Greg Anthony is Mark Jackson.
Anthony also had something to say to Thomas. Isiah felt he was fouled. A defensive clinic put on by the rookie Greg Anthony. Game 5 between the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. The winner will go on to face the Chicago Bulls, who have been waiting in the wings off the sweep of the Miami Heat. And the loser goes home. 5th and final game. Second half is underway. Ewing giving the Knicks a 40-35 lead.
Chuck Daly just talked about guards drawing defensive guards, kicking to the open man. Knicks that time, big men drawing big men, kicking to an open Patrick Ewing.
Sally puts the spin on Oakley and is fouled. Charles Oakley injured his hip in the first half, but he has managed to hang in, although he was yanked on a couple of occasions and came hobbling off. Oakley called for the foul, his second.
Detroit probably never noticed that he was hurt. First play down, they isolate Oakley against Sally and tell him, take him off the dribble, make him move his feet.
The Pistons opening with Thomas and Dumars at the guards. Sally with Woolridge and Rodman up front, and the Knicks go with their usual starting lineup. Jackson, despite the bruised thigh, and Wilkins in the backcourt. Oakley, Ewing, and McDaniel up front.
When we look at the halftime stat sheet, so many categories almost dead even for both teams in this basketball game.
And that starts with the shooting percentage. Both teams at 33%. And the first half, that's been the story this series. Detroit with the best defensive record in the NBA. The Knicks second in that department. And neither of these clubs will bowl you over with their offense. And Jake O'Donnell, the outside official, says it is a traveling violation on Gerald Wilkins.
Hugh Holland was about to call the foul, but Jake gave the extra couple of toots on the whistle to let him know, yeah, there was a foul, but the travel took place first.
A minute gone by, third quarter. The Knicks lead by 3. Ewing jumping out to help out.
Early pick and roll by Detroit.
Here's Woolridge. The Knicks now with a 1-point lead.
So now Detroit continues to go to pick and rolls, which have been their bread and butter play for years and years. They stayed away from it in the first half. Perhaps to let New York forget how they wanted to play it.
And Ewing was forced into the difficult shot, but a loose ball foul called on the Pistons. A push charge to Woolridge. That is his second foul.
It's a war zone under the basket. There's pushing, there's shoving, anything you can to wind up securing the basketball.
Wilkins way off. McDaniel. Gerald Wilkins is going through a nightmare this afternoon. His shots have been way off. He's turned it over on a couple of occasions. Knicks lead by 3. Dumars and Oakley with the rebound. McDaniel, good look from Ewing.
That secondary or transition part of the fast break when the initial one-on-one isn't there, no quick score, just a little bit of ball movement, guys rotating down, filling open spots. Worked very well that time for New York.
The Knicks lead by 5. Again, Ewing stepping out. Thomas took advantage. Rebound Sally. The Knicks 44. The Pistons 41. Again, McDaniel and Rodman battling for position down low. Then Rodman switches off to Ewing. Now McDaniel played by Dumars. Shot clock at 3. McDaniel. Rebound Rodman.
So he never had time to really back him down all the way.
Woolridge was fouled. He was stopped by the combination of Jackson and Wilkins. And Wilkins called for his second. Orlando Woolridge to the line. He is 0 for 2 from the foul line. Orlando Woolridge spent 5 years with the Chicago Bulls, 2 with the Nets, 2 with the Lakers, 1 with Denver, acquired, and the deal for Scott Hastings in a second-round draft pick that comes up next season. And Orlando has brought the Pistons within 1.
Little token pressure that time by Detroit after the free throw, just to use up some more time on the 24-second clock.
Once again, Ewing nearly threw it away, did that earlier. And Ewing able to recover. Here's Oakley. Loose ball foul called on Ewing. That is his first foul. Right now, the Knicks are not getting good shots.
Well, I'd say you certainly have to be happy knowing that Patrick Ewing starts the second half with no personal fouls, so he's got a bunch to use up here and trying to shake free in the middle.
John Starks replacing Darrell Wilkins. Starks has not shot well. 1 for 7, hit a 3 early, and that was it. Sally twisting in. Oakley with the rebound.
When New York jumps out and takes away the first option, that time Joe Dumars, the next player must step in.
McDaniel. Stark's shot was deflected short, but the X-Man was there. He now has 12. The Knicks lead is 3 points.
X-Man with 3 offensive rebounds in the basketball game.
And the Knicks doing well with the second chance point department. Starks called for the foul.
Scorers will find a way of producing points on the glass. When you go up after it, offensive rebounds, inside position, they work to get their points.
Once again, Ewing jumping out. Woolridge. Orlando Woolridge has 12. It's the Knicks 46 and the Pistons 45. Starks coming off the pick. Starks is now 1 for 9 from the field. Yes, Percy will make the call. It is called on Rodman.
There's a battle going on down low between Rodman and McDaniel. It started in the beginning of the game. This is going all 48 minutes for this basketball game.
shaking off Thomas, setting up Ewing. The tip by McDaniel. The Knicks lead 48-45. Ewing is now 5 for 15. Sally lays it off. A gorgeous pass for Rodman. And Rodman and Ewing now having some words.
John Sally, a 6'11" player, having the ability to put it down 1 or 2 dribbles and make an interior bounce pass to his teammate. Some skill level.
Jake O'Donnell just warned both Rodman and Ewing. Now, Rodman already has a technical foul. Next one, and he's gone. They collapse on Ewing. Just under 6 minutes remaining, third quarter. Here's Sally. John Sally has come up big once again, and he's given Detroit a 1-point lead.
Little wrinkle that New York put in, some dribble handoffs or an outside weave, and then they throw it into Ewing, trying to distort the defense of Detroit, causing indecision on who's double teaming.
The Knicks have called for time. We'll be right back.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Nissan, built for the human race. By the people at Nike, who encourage you to just do it. And by Miller Lite, the great beer that's less filling. It's it, and that's that.
Ahmad Rashad here back at Madison Square Garden. I'm now inside the film room, and this is what the Knicks do at halftime. They tape the first part of the game, and they find out different situations they want to make adjustments. They watch them during halftime, and then that's how they make the adjustment. I'm with assistant coach Bob Salmon. How does this work?
Well, basically what we do is we take some sets we've seen in the first half and try and make adjustments to how they're running their offense. In this instance, we've got Joe Dumars on a side out of bounds, and what he's starting to do in this game is curl into the middle of the floor, whereas in the past he's come out to the wing. And we've got to make an adjustment with the man setting the screen so that we can get a piece of him and Dumars can't get middle of the floor and create havoc and give the ball to other players.
All right, thanks, Bob.
No problem.
High tech here at Madison Square Garden. Back to you, Marv.
All right, Ahmad. And let's see what adjustments Pat Riley will make.
Another guy trying to steal a telestrator job.
Yes, that's right. Trying to steal from the bazaar of the telestrator. The Pistons by 1. Jackson for 3.
Jackson with the slider on the last shot. Not a sharp curve, but just a slider on the shot.
And the foul called on Ewing. It's a hold, so Sally will go to the line. The Knicks are now 5 for 15 from the field in this third quarter. Look at some of the Knicks shooting. Ewing is now 5 for 16. He certainly had his shot opportunities, although the Pistons earlier made it difficult for Ewing to get down low. Starks 1 for 9. Oakley 0 for 5.
It's unusual to see Chuck Daly going back again to John Sally. All these years, Chuck has had a reputation. When a player gets it going, he stays with it. He keeps calling that player's number, but you don't associate that with a Rodman or Sally. John Sally comes out, gets 6 quick points to start the half. So what does Chuck do? Goes right back to John Sally again. There's consistency in the man's coaching. I think that's what the players really appreciate about Chuck Daly.
John Sally had the 20-point performance in Game 3 at the Palace. The game the Knicks won in overtime. Jackson able to elude Woolridge and Thomas, but could not take advantage. Just under 5 minutes to go in this third quarter. Here's Jackson. Tip and missed by Ewing. McDaniel, yes, and it counts.
And that foul is going to be called with the body on Dennis Rodman. He didn't challenge it when he went back up. He just kind of slid that left side of his body into McDaniels just enough to throw him off balance. The first attempt, no good. Then Rodman knows too late, so there's that left hip into McDaniel, but the strength of Xavier McDaniel enables him to convert. 7 rebounds for McDaniel, 5 off the offensive glass. Completes the three-point play, and he's tied the game at 51.
McDaniel has 17.
Detroit, will they go back to the isolations for Dumars to get him going? Will they go to their pick and roll, which has been bread and butter? Here's the isolation right now. Clear the side of the floor for Joe Dumars.
And he drew the foul. Will it count? Yes, it does! The basket counts and the foul.
A tremendous ability to Joe Dumars with the basketball, clearing the entire side of the floor. Go ahead, Joe, do it on your own. Well, Dumars certainly has the ability. The whistle goes. He almost passes, but hooks it up at the last second. Tremendous ability. What an adjustment. Here's the whistle, and then says, well, look, I got to get it up there to maybe get 2 shots out of it. Not only does he get the score, but now a chance to make a 3-point play.
John Starks called for the foul, his 4th. Like Joe Dumars came up a bit shaken up after that follow-through.
Go back to the game in the Garden when Detroit beat the Knicks in the playoffs. Joe Dumars struggled in the first half. It was a 3-point shot that got him going in the second half. There's a 3-point play for Joe Dumars. You take the 3 any way you can get it.
Dumars with 9 for this afternoon. Pistons by 3. Gerald Wilkins back replacing John Starks. Ewing. It is Detroit 54. New York 53 with 4:20 left in the third.
What you're seeing is why you hear people say big-time players make big shots. That's exactly what's happening now here in the second half.
Wilkins played Dumars very well. They trap him. Dumars calling for a 20-second timeout.
Joe Dumars got himself down in that deep corner, and Dumars, a guy who over the last 4 seasons has had his field goal percentage go down, but there are reasons for that. More responsibility has been placed on the shoulders of a Dumars and an Isiah Thomas. With Vinnie Johnson moving on, James Edwards out of there, Detroit has struggled for scoring. So when there's more pressure, obviously tougher to get easy shots.
And now they've called for a full timeout. The winner here this afternoon will go on to meet the Chicago Bulls in the second round of the playoffs. Chicago waiting it out after sweeping the Miami Heat. Yesterday afternoon, it was Cleveland in a blowout of Boston in the Western Conference. Portland up 2-1. And it'll be Portland and the LA Lakers meeting at the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll have it for you. Dick Enberg and Magic Johnson will be at the microphone. Clyde Drexler and the Blazers going up against the Los Angeles Lakers. That is coming up following the Knicks and Detroit. Look at the Pistons shooting in this third quarter. 6 for 11. They have stepped it up. The Knicks only 7 for 19 in the third. Pistons with a 1-point lead. 4 minutes to go. Third quarter. Last touch by Detroit.
Making Orlando Woolridge a standstill jump shooter is not his strength. Much better at being able to put the ball on the floor. The guy that they like to have in there for those open standstill shots is Mark Aguirre. Unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
Crowd now attempting to urge the Knicks on. Jackson, Wilkins in the backcourt. McDaniel, Oakley, Ewing up front. Rodman defending on McDaniel. Did a terrific job. Wilkins. He drew the foul. Dumars called for the foul.
No question that the shove on the hip threw Wilkins entirely off balance that time. Couldn't get that body squared up and facing the front of the rim.
Gerald Wilkins to the line. He's 0 for 2 from the line. He's made his return because John Starks, who has not shot well, picked up his 4th foul just a moment ago. So the game is tied at 54. Gerald Wilkins in his earlier years with the Knicks was a solid free throw shooter, but he has dropped off this season.
Sometimes you just go through one of those years where you can't figure out what the adjustment is, the correct adjustment is at that particular time. You struggle for the entire season, then you start thinking too much about it, just continues to get worse for you.
So the Knicks lead 55-54. Sally. Oakley with the rebound. Ewing drawing the double team. Wilkins gets. Those free throws may have straightened out Gerald Wilkins' stroke. How often that can happen. The Knicks now lead by 3 with just under 3 minutes to go in the third.
Are you now the new shot doctor?
You know, I knew that was coming.
Strokes. That's right.
I knew that was coming. The steal by Ewing. Jackson penetrated. And a count, no. Offensive foul.
Joe Dumars was there the entire way, just camped in the middle of the lane, waiting for Jackson to come down. The only chance he had. Take a shot at it. Rodman gets a little too careless protecting the basketball. Ewing sticks the arm in, gets a deflection and steal. Joe Dumars just waiting for him to come to him.
So the charge called on Jackson. Mark McGuire is back, as is Bill Laimbeer. 2:25 left in the third. Knicks lead by 3. Traveling violation called on Dumars.
What Chuck Daly, I think, sees is the fact that Isiah and Dumars have been able to create off the dribble, so he has taken out Woolridge and put in a better spot-up shooter in Mark McGuire, hoping that the guards can continue to do that.
Laimbeer doing a good job fronting down low. Ewing. Yes. And Patrick Ewing penetrated against the double team. He went to the hoop very strong.
Because it was not a hard, aggressive double team. They came down too soft, too slow. He split it, as you said, off the dribble in the big step.
Laimbeer able to answer, and it's 59. The Pistons 56 with 1:40 left. Third quarter. McDaniel from deep. Set up beautifully by Isiah Thomas, has brought Detroit within 1.
Now that's the same play that took place a few minutes back, but it was Woolridge there who is not that type of shooter. Chuck made the move just for that reason. It paid off.
Laimbeer jumping out on Jackson, finds Oakley. Shot clock at 2. Oakley for Jackson, who fires. It's a 20. No, he just did get it off, but Detroit able to get it back.
One thing in this game, don't assume the 24-second clock is going off if you're a player. You fall asleep for 1 second. As active as these people are, it's going to produce an easy score.
Laimbeer. And a foul call on the Pistons. Ewing was held back. Foul on Sally, his third.
Ewing gets that quick big step before the double team can close down, and that's exactly what they do not want. Ewing to get into that painted area and get a good look at the rim. When they come down hard and quick, he's not able to establish himself in the lane or take that early big step.
Detroit over the foul limit, so Ewing to the line. 7 for 8 from the line. He has 21 points, although he has not shot well at 7 for 19.
Detroit scouting report says pay special attention on the free throw line to New York because they come up with a lot of missed free throws.
The Knicks 61. The Pistons 58. 30 seconds left in the third. Dumars beat Ewing with the rebound. And the Knicks will hold for a final shot. 10 seconds left, third quarter. Ewing from way out. Not the shot Pat Riley would want. Wilkins. Gerald Wilkins has suddenly turned it. Here's Sally. Gerald Wilkins hitting a couple of jump shots, including one just before the buzzer. After 3, the Knicks 63, the Pistons 58. We'll be back after these messages and a word from your local station. Well, this is an enormous day for New York area sports. The Knicks in Detroit in this 5th and final game here this afternoon. Tonight at Madison Square Garden, New York Rangers and the Pittsburgh Penguins in game 1 of their NHL playoff series. The crowd now reacting to the Knicks, who with that late spurt in the 3rd have taken a 63-58 lead.
Will the hockey be much more physical than this thing was saying this afternoon?
It'll be close. Knicks outscoring Detroit 25-23 in the 3rd quarter. And Gerald Wilkins showing some signs, turning it, hit the shot just prior to the 3rd quarter buzzer. You'll recall it was Gerald not able to hit last Sunday afternoon here at the Garden against Detroit with that last second shot after Isiah Thomas was able to convert. Bill Laimbeer cuts it to a 3-point Knicks lead.
The Knicks and the Pistons both are rotating so hard to challenge shooters. All you have to do is show the ball a little bit, and you can get it to where you want on the floor for a little better shot. Ball fakes, get him up in the air.
Jackson. Yes. The double team on Ewing. And Patrick tossed it back out to Mark Jackson, who was wide open.
And that's the confidence that teammates must develop in one another. If you're closed off, give it up to an open teammate, and then he's got to produce.
Ewing with the rebound. Knicks with a 5-point lead. 1 minute gone by in the 4th quarter. McDaniel. Here's Wilkins. And the foul.
Sometimes it's a guy in games like these that just steps up and suddenly raises his level of performance. Something that hasn't been seen from Wilkins in this playoff series thus far. But with the crowd behind him, his teammates encouraging him, he's stepping forward here in this quarter and certainly taking over. At this time, for Chuck Daly, do you bring back a Darryl Walker who, with his defensive play and scrappiness, may be just what Detroit needs to get themselves going?
Laimbeer on the foul. And Wilkins, who was hearing some boos earlier today, completes the 3-point play, extends to the biggest lead of the game. Knicks by 8. Gerald Wilkins over the first 4 games hit 7 for 28 from the field. Today 5 of 7. Thomas able to save it. And he's fouled. It counts. Isiah Thomas will go to the line.
Just when you think you've got them where you want them, Isiah Thomas makes something big happen, as he has done so often in his career. The captain of the team is not going to go down easy. Hangs in there and makes big things happen.
Foul called on Wilkins. Mark Jackson hears it from the crowd as he sits down. Greg Anthony coming on. Jackson leads with 6 points, 4 assists. Both Jackson and Anthony have played well at the point guard position. Patrick Ewing asserting himself off the boards. 16 rebounds for Ewing. The Knicks with a 6-point lead. Nice move by Anthony. Yes, it counts.
basis of team defense is keep the ball in front of you. If the guards get beat off the dribble, then it makes everybody else try to rotate and cover for you.
The Knicks lead 70-62. You can understand the enthusiasm of the Knicks, but I know Pat Riley was upset with the early excessive celebration that has taken place from time to time, and he talked to the club about it. You don't want to see too much at this stage of the ball game. Lots of time remaining. Dumars for three. Joe Dumars back from downtown to cut it to a 5-point Knicks lead.
There's a difference between celebration and then tempering your emotions. That time, the play by Anthony was just an emotional outburst.
Here's Ewing. And the Knicks now lead 72-65. Technical foul has been called. The byplay coming off the bucket by Ewing. Looked like Anthony Mason was involved. Hugh Hollins. No, apparently calling a loose ball foul on McDaniel first. In fact, Bill Laimbeer is arguing, indicating that he called a technical and that the call was changed. It looked like a T was indicated. That's what Chuck Daly is claiming.
There was a signal given as the players were walking up the floor after the whistle stopped play, and it looked to Detroit like a technical foul was being called.
And now a timeout is taken. And apparently, the technical was not called. 9:43 to go in the fourth. We'll be right back. Marv Albert, Mike Fratello, and Ahmad Rashad from Madison Square Garden, New York. 9:43 remaining in this fourth quarter. The Knicks 72, the Pistons 65, and the Pistons very upset. They felt that the initial call by Hugh Hollins was a technical foul on Anthony Mason, and I get the idea change was made in that decision because had it been a technical on Mason, he would have been ejected.
I'll say this. On the one side, the Pistons are correct. A signal was given for a technical foul. On the other side, I will say this. If Hugh Hollins thought it over and in best interest of the game decided that a technical was not warranted at that time, then congratulate him for making a change and moving on with the game.
However, if the basis of that decision was made on the fact that it would be his second and ejection, that's not the right call. Here is Sally, and the Knicks now lead 72-67.
Well, then maybe we'll have a first. We'll send Ahmad over during the next time out. We'll do a little sideline report with Hugh Hollins on the technical or no technical call.
And here's Anthony setting up Ewing. Wilkins getting a piece of it, but handled by Thomas. The Knicks lead by 5. McGuire feeling for Mason. Nice move, and he drew the foul. Mason called for his fourth. Crowd of 19,135 here at Madison Square Garden. Fifth and final game between the Knicks and the Pistons. The winner will go on to face the Chicago Bulls with the series beginning on Tuesday in Chicago. Now here's Charles Oakley replacing Anthony Mason. Mark McGuire making his first appearance at the line. Sally gets to it. Nice pass, but it's now broken up by Ewing. McGuire lost it. The Knicks with the ball and a 4-point lead. And McGuire gets it right back.
Two examples of players trying to make hard passes, difficult passes, rather than simple ones, easy ones, result in turnovers. Thomas coming off the pick, dumps it off to Sally, and a foul
Wes Kersey with the indication. It's on Ewing, his third.
Well, going back to that questionable call a few moments ago, the foul eventually being called on Mason. We also must remember this. If it would have been called a technical foul on Mason, he would be out of the game right now. It would have been his second tee and then out of the basketball game.
And Isiah Thomas cuts it to 2. That was my point. That's why I feel that the call was changed. But you can't make a judgment on that basis. Mason got involved earlier with Rodman. McDaniel giving the Knicks a 4-point lead. There were earlier technicals called on Rodman and Mason. So Mason would have been ejected. And in light of Charles Oakley playing with the hip pointer, Mason could be significant down the stretch. Thomas is fouled by Anthony. And the Knicks have gone over the limit very early. And Darrell Wilkins, here's the applause. He's replaced by John Starks. Wilkins, a major contributor this afternoon, sits down with 13, and John Starks hit his first from three-point range. He's missed his last 8 field goal attempts.
If you're Detroit struggling to score points and you reach the bonus situation this quickly, that's a big, big plus for you, because all those loose ball fouls wind up giving you the chance to go to the free throw line and score points.
Riley sending Anthony Mason back out of the floor. Charles Oakley will get a rest. The Knicks 74 and the Pistons 72. Knicks have led by as many as 8. The Pistons at one point led by as many as 8. Ewing getting possession. Knicks 76. The Pistons 72. 26 for Ewing, who has turned it around in the second half. Ewing, Patrick Ewing controlling the boards. He now has 17 rebounds. Ewing, blocked by Sally. What a play by John Sally, and then able to keep it alive for Isiah Thomas. Lambeer on a quick release.
And you said it, quick release, rushing the jump shot, not quite getting himself set like he normally does for that good look.
Anthony and Starks in the backcourt. McDaniel, Mason, Ewing up front. Out Lambeer defending on Ewing. Shot clock to 4. McDaniel. Oh, good play by Thomas, able to save it off the rebound.
And Detroit has reversed the roles of the guard. Dumars running the show now. Isiah playing the off guard or scoring guard position.
Five on the 24. Anthony with the steal. 4-on-2. Anthony with an air ball. And a foul is called. It's on Thomas. Isiah commits his third timeout taken by Detroit.
Miller Genuine Draft presents Genuine Memories.
Tonight, Miller Genuine Draft, Genuine Memory takes us back to 1990. Chuck Daly facing Stu Jackson in the last playoff game between the Pistons and the Knicks. Detroit beating New York 4-1 on the way to the second straight NBA championship for the Detroit Pistons. In recognition of that moment, for the Genuine Draft will donate $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. For more of that controversial call that we have been discussing, let's go over to Ahmad Rashad.
All right, thanks, Marv. I just spoke with Hugh Hollins, and he told me that he did call a technical. It was his fault. He should not have called a technical. It was just a loose ball foul, so he rescinded the technical foul and called the loose ball foul. His decision.
All right, Ahmad. Knicks with a 4-point lead. 5:33 remaining in this fourth quarter. The high point then Patrick Ewing with 26. And he has come on strong in the second half. Xavier McDaniel has been solid throughout. He has 19. Gerald Wilkins providing a spark. He has 13. Isiah Thomas leading Detroit with 16. John Sally with another strong performance with 13 points, 12 apiece for Dumars and Woolridge. And it has been another strong game for Greg Anthony. He has 8 points. Ewing with the rebound. The Knicks lead 79-72. That's the play that you mentioned earlier.
It's on the front page of the scouting report for Detroit. They miss free throws, and they get a lot of them back. When they miss them, you just got to box out, pay attention, don't fall asleep there. One basket in this type of game could be the difference. The long rebound. Sally did the best he could to fight Patrick off, but it just went over his head and then the strength of Ewing.
Matt Riley in deep thought.
Both coaches are exhausted right now. All the mind games going on. Look at them. Both of them are worn out.
Isiah Thomas sent to the line off the foul called on Greg Anthony. The Knicks have been over the limit for a good portion of this fourth quarter.
You had mentioned earlier that at halftime, Detroit was holding its own on the glass, only down 1 rebound. New York, 12.5 differential rebounds per game over Detroit. Right now, second chance points, New York 23, Detroit 10.
Anthony, rebound Mason. Yes, and a count.
Make that 25-10 in favor of New York.
Mark Aguirre called for the foul. Anthony Mason to the line.
You must limit the number of second chance scoring opportunities. That's where the offensive board becomes so important, and that's where Anthony Mason shows up big. The strength, the size of Mason inside.
And this is where you will hear many complaints from the Detroit area concerning the change of that technical foul call by Hugh Hollins with Anthony Mason on the floor. Dumars, rebound Mason. Because it appeared that Mason had picked up a second technical and would have been gone. In particular, with Charles Oakley playing hurt, Mason has been very important for the Knicks all season long, is very significant here in the fourth quarter. Starts for 3, Lambier with the rebound. 4:35 to go in the fourth. The Knicks lead it by 9.
Not that you want to take rush shots, but you can't keep running that 24-second clock down.
Anthony off the steal, goes all the way, and he will go back to the line. Thomas called for his fourth.
You've said it all along. Greg Anthony's major contribution has been defense this year to the New York Knicks. And in the playoff series, he certainly has come up with his share of big plays. You produce offense sometimes through great defense.
Anthony, a 74% free throw shooter. He is only 2 for 5 today. Greg Anthony, the all-time leader in assists and steals at Nevada, Las Vegas. The Knicks' first-round draft pick, 12th overall. Here's Dennis Rodman returning, replacing John Sally. It's the Knicks 83, the Pistons 73. Thomas with the foul.
Detroit runs a series when they inbound the ball called their sideline series. It's a slowed down fast break of there where players go to designated spots on the floor, and then it's up to Isiah or Joe to make something happen either by going one-on-one or coming off a sudden quick pick and roll. They try to get shots up somewhere within 8 to 10 seconds after they inbound the basketball. It's kind of like their version of the hurry-up offense.
Thomas is 10 for 12 from the foul line. Detroit has 4 timeouts and a 20, 4 conventional and a 20. The Knicks with 3 and a 20 remaining as we approach 4 minutes left, 4th quarter. The Knicks 83, the Pistons 75. 5th and final game of the series. The winner goes on to face the defending NBA champion, Chicago Bulls. Shot clock at 3. Anthony gets to it. Bad pass. And the Pistons get it back. Here's Thomas with the hesitation dribble, and he's fouled. And that is 5 on Anthony.
And the crowd reacting because they wanted the call of the right arm push-off by Isiah as he was making his dribble penetration.
So Mark Jackson returns, replacing Greg Anthony.
Just before Isiah elevates the right arm, right there is what the crowd reacted to, the shove-off of Greg Anthony. Now, is it enough to warrant an offensive foul call? Probably not in this situation.
Isiah Thomas 11 for 13 from the line. Here's Sally back, replacing Aguirre, who leaves with 7.
For New York, so many times this year, John Starks has come on the floor and bailed them out by having good shooting nights. Instead, it's Wilkins, 5 out of 7, who's produced. Starks right now 1 for 11 in the basketball game.
And the Knicks going with Jackson and Starks in the backcourt. Ewing, Mason, and McDaniel up front. 3.5 remaining in the 4th. Ewing on the double team. Sally with the rebound. Detroit down by 7. Here's Dumars getting it high off glass. Last touch by Sally.
And John Sally knew he had a chance right there with the follow-up. He just lost control of the basketball as he tried to slam it down.
Starks with a good entry pass for Ewing, who was fouled. John Starks, according to Pat Riley, is the best Knick in terms of getting that pass down low to Patrick Ewing. Lane Beer charged with his 5th.
It's a small point, but if you have a great low-post scorer like Ewing, what good is he if you don't have people that understand how to pass it to him, how to get it to him? Sounds so simple, but not that easy with great defensive players up against you.
Ewing is now 9 for 10 from the line.
Ewing calls for it with the left hand. The ball's delivered right on the money.
The Knicks by 8. 3 minutes remaining, 4th quarter. McDaniel with the rebound.
Another missed free throw, another rebound by New York on the foul line.
And a timeout taken by the Knicks. 2:52 to go in the 4th. And the Knicks lead the Pistons 84-76.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Chevrolet, the cars and trucks more people depend on. By McDonald's, what you want is what you get at McDonald's today. And by Gatorade, it's all you're thirsty for.
Back at Madison Square Garden, Marv Albert, Mike Fratello, Ahmad Rashad. 2:52 to go, 4th quarter. The Knicks with an 84-76 lead on the Pistons in this 5th and final game of the series. The Chicago Bulls waiting for the winner. The Pistons have missed their last 7 shots. Knicks have missed their last 5 from the field. Shot clock at 5. Starks, yes! John Starks with a 3-pointer opening up an 87-76 lead.
Does he have any fear, the man? He's 1 for 11, gets behind the 3-point line and knocks it down.
He had missed 10 in a row. He hit a 3 and then missed 10. Lambeer for 3. Rebounded by Dumars. Thomas from downtown. And the Knicks now lead 87-79.
When you realize that it's going to be difficult to score, coaches emphasize to the players, you got to get on the offensive boards. Get us some easy points. There have been 38 offensive rebounds in this game. 22 for New York and 16 for Detroit.
Ewing stopped by Sally. Another superb defensive play by John Sally. Isiah Thomas for 3. And Isiah Thomas has scored Detroit's last 14 points. It is now a 5-point game, a minute and a half remaining. Well, longtime fans of the Knicks are well aware of what Isiah Thomas can do in short stretches of time come playoff competition. That was last touched by Dumars. We're down to a minute 21 remaining in the fourth quarter. The Knicks lead by 5.
You've got to get possessions back. If you can do it at the defensive end and then hurry on back down, you still have a chance.
John Starks and Joe Dumars on the floor and in obvious pain. Mike Abdenauer, the Detroit Piston trainer, out to check out Joe Dumars. The Knicks now lead 89-82 with a minute 18 remaining in the fourth quarter, and a timeout has been taken. And Dumars running it off to the Piston bench. And we'll take a break. We'll be back at the Garden in a moment.
A moment ago, Ewing on the out-of-bounds play knows he's got to free up his guard. This is where the collision takes place with Joe Dumars. Sends Dumars down with the injured right shoulder. Talk about crunching screens. There it is by Patrick.
And Mike, we are witnessing another amazing performance by Isiah Thomas. He has scored Detroit's last 14 points. It was back in the '84 Eastern Conference playoff, round number 1. One of the remarkable playoff performances pulled off by Isiah Thomas. He scored 16 points in 94 seconds late in the fourth quarter against the Knicks, but it was 44 points by Bernard King that propelled the Knicks to a 127-123 overtime victory. The Knicks by 7 with a minute 15 remaining in the fourth quarter. Lambeer for 3. Rebounded by McDaniel, and apparently Dumars all right, still on the floor. We come up on 1 minute remaining in this fourth quarter as Starks was tripped up. Both clubs are now over the foul limit. Lambeer has fouled out.
Well, Starks plays with reckless abandon, and Lambeer going for the swipe of the ball gets more abdomen than he does any kind of basketball.
Well, this crowd is saying goodbye to the Detroit Pistons. This is a Detroit team that has won 2 NBA championships the past 5 years. They have been in 3 NBA finals in 5 Eastern Conference championships. A minute 3 to go in the fourth. The Knicks lead by 7. Mike, what do you feel? And I know you're very close to this man. What do you think is going through his mind? And obviously the thought that this is his final game with the Pistons, although nothing official has been said. It appears that he is headed elsewhere. Thomas rejected on the downtown attack.
Marv, it's the finality of losing in the playoffs. The realization that tomorrow when you get up, it's all over. You've worked so hard in training camp, 82 regular season games. You go through an intense series like this, and after 9 years of developing relationships and in the community of Detroit, the spirit and that attitude that they had developed by winning 2 world championships, this man spearheaded the entire thing. And as his players have said over and over again, it's not going to be easy for the next guy. We doubt there ever could be another Chuck Daly.
In his 9th year as head coach of the Pistons, the winningest coach in the history of the franchise. And he does know his next coaching assignment will be the U.S. Olympic team. Patrick Ewing adding to the Knicks lead, 93-82. That's time remaining in the 4th quarter. Thomas in a collision with Ewing, and that will set Isiah to the line.
And Patrick upset with the fact that he felt Isiah came right into him. Isiah going over right now to talk to Patrick to try and make him understand that, look, this entire series has been a tough one. I've taken my share of blows. We'll dish a little bit out here at the end also. Isiah knows there's going to be contact, but if he's going to get hit, he wants to deliver a good lick. You know what that reminded me of? The same type of shot that Karl Malone laid on top of Isiah back in Utah, which produced 44 stitches in Isaiah's forehead.
26 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists for Isiah Thomas. Now 13 for 16 from the foul line. So the Knicks now lead 93, 84, 45 seconds to go. Aguirre with the reaching on Starks. And now all the speculation following this game will center around the general manager of the Detroit Pistons, Jack McCloskey. There's Jack, who has a number of decisions, starting with the head coach, and then perhaps the dismantling of the core of this ball club.
You said earlier, nothing official has been announced by Detroit, but speculation, it could go from a complete turnover. I'm talking about McCloskey going elsewhere to be a general manager, Chuck Daly moving on to perhaps be a GM or coach another team, players changing teams, big trades, massive trades of key guys in Detroit. Big decisions coming up.
Thomas was looking for the three-pointer. Sally from downtown, rebounded by Jackson. The Knicks with a 10-point lead. The New York Knicks about to defeat the Pistons in 5, and what a first season for Pat Riley. This is a Knicks club that won 51 and lost 31. They did sputter at the end of the year. Jackson not able to hit. They were caught by the Boston Celtics, who won the Atlantic Division title. Here is Isiah Thomas, and the Knicks now lead 94-87. 7 seconds to go, but the Knicks able to turn it around in this series against the Pistons, and this one is all over.
People said early that Pat Riley won because of only great players. No, Pat Riley is a great coach.
The celebration has begun here at Madison Square Garden. And Bill Laimbeer congratulating Pat Riley. The New York Knicks have defeated the Detroit Pistons 94-87 to win the series in 5, a fiercely played 5-game set. And they will move on to face the Chicago Bulls. We'll be right back